I just don't think it was necessarily something they were interested in, nor wanted to spend money on pay per view and things like that with. Um, the question that I have: do you ever, because you're having to go back and watch history? So let me. I know this is going to be kind of a long, drawn out question. So I'm big into football. I couldn't imagine because I've watched it all these years, right? NFL, college, I've watched it from the other time. So when people talk about, okay, the David Tyree like helmet catch and stuff like that, I remember those moments because I saw them live. How is it for you now being a fan, watching the history of something happening, say in 2005, or even like like prime example, John Cena moment when he comes out there and it's like, we killed Osama bin Laden. Like a lot of people remember that WWE moment. You aren't watching it. How do you feel like catching up to it now, I guess? And do you ever, I don't know if it's necessarily regret because you had no choice, but do you ever wish like, hey, I could have watched those things live?
Oh yes, all the time. I do wish I could have watched those things live because I would have been totally into it. But you also have to think when I grew up, and I know why my parents didn't let me watch wrestling. When I grew up during that time of wrestling, that's the DX, like suck it days. That's when like on WCW Nitro, like the girls with the very provocative like
Yeah.
dressing and like they literally had in the early 2000s they're called bra and panties matches, and like you can use your imagination what those are like. So I mean,
Yeah,
and
I guess that's true because a lot of our childhood, not to cut you off, I guess a lot of our childhood knowing some about WWE and then WWF transitioning to WWE, it was definitely a Jerry Springer like atmosphere. Like that's what
yeah.
they wanted to bring. And so
Hmm.
I think that I see what you're saying, but continue though.
Yeah, so yes, obviously there are times where I'm like, man, I wish I could have watched like John Cena live. And so it's different because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I have this connection to John Cena, and I'm like, he's cool. There are wrestlers I have connections with because I have gone back and watched the matches, and I'm like, oh yeah, this guy is solid. Like Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is my favorite of all time, and I didn't get to grow up watching Shawn Michaels live or Ric Flair, like, and so a lot of what I did to catch up is I would watch like YouTube videos on the history of wrestling or listen to wrestling
Right.
podcasts of like, hey, this is what was going on, this and that. And so it is, I do wish it is different. It is hard, but like sitting here now, I'm kind of like, because at the time you don't know that those moments are viral moments.